Well, after a 2.5 month hiatus, we are finally back at it. Had quite a few life events happen between Riley and myself. My wife started up her own business. Riley, of course, had an addition to his family, so
Yep,
I know he's excited about that.
I am. He's great. I love him so much. He's awesome.
You're past the sleepless nights, right?
Actually, no. Actually,
Okay.
it was the first month or month and a half that was the worst. But now he doesn't even wake up until like an hour after I leave in the morning for work. So, and he goes to bed at 9, which works well for you and I to record. So, no, it's been actually pretty good. It's a whole different experience, obviously, but I look forward to what comes. So,
Yep. It's awesome stuff. So, but with that, we'll get right into this week's episode. Kicking off with Google, many of you guys are aware that we can expect a larger variant option for the Pixel Watch 3, something that I myself was hoping that would combat the unimpressive battery life. But sadly, the base size stays the same at 310 milliamps, and the 45 millimeter will get a boost of 110. But with that, I know most of you Pixel fans have been hoping that Google would eventually improve the bezels, but we now have leaks that point to a 1 millimeter reduction on those bezels, offering a larger display for both variants, which is good news. The other addition to count on is brighter displays of up to 2,000 nits, and the leaks also suggest that a smaller size could come in the color of gold, and the larger size would take on hazel. Obviously, both of them will still come in black and silver. But all of this information is included along with the leaks that came through the FCC that ultra wideband would be included on these models as well. So,
I don't think we've ever gotten. Have we gotten a gold variant from Pixel at all in the past?
not that I can think of, but
Okay.
kind of depends on what your definition of gold is. So I might have. Are you talking about the watches?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, add a variant of color.
Yeah,
That's
definitely no.
Yeah. And I don't think they're on the actual pixels themselves. There are any, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, that's cool. Good variants there. Pretty solid. I don't really have a lot to say about that, but it's good.
No, I mean it's something that's I'm excited about. At least trying out just to see if they can actually improve these models. So
Yeah,
but
yep, for sure. Meta is pushing the Quest 3 much harder, and the way they're doing this is by performing sort of a buy now and pay later plan. The breakdown is as follows. For the 128GB variant, it will run at $24.99 a month, and the 512GB variant for $34.99 a month. Both payment plans will last for 24 months and come bundled with Meta Quest Plus and Meta Warranty Plus. And just as a side note, and as a reminder, I guess, since I think we may have talked about this in the past, with MetaQuest, you get 2 new games added to your library every month. And if you choose to cancel that subscription and resubscribe, those games will still be there from the moment you ended it, which is pretty neat. But to make this deal even better, not only are you getting these cool perks, but you actually get a big discount when you do a monthly payment. So you cut $134 off for the 128 variant and $54 off for the 512. Clearly, the 128 gets you a much better deal there. It's pretty sweet, in my opinion. So I think if you're going to push a product like this, as well as your own memberships, because I imagine that people will, pay this all in full and they'll continue the membership. I think this is probably the best way to do it, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting as far as the monthly, because sometimes you look at what companies offer. Typically, you can get a discount, like if it's an annual one-time payment thing. But yeah, that's pretty nifty. I guess my only question for you would be, is do you consider 128 to be enough? Because I'm not sure how the headsets work or how the storage is.
I don't know, actually. I have used one before. My close friend, he had the Quest 2. And I think he had the 128 variant, if I'm not mistaken. I guess it really depends on how much gaming you're going to be doing on it and how many games, obviously, you're going to be downloading.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would probably go with the 512 just to make sure I get the max amount of storage. If there's any other games that I want to add, I might regret it later if I only have the 128. That's just me. Some people might prefer lower because you are getting that $134 off, so it's a much bigger cut. But yeah, and one other thing to note is this is through a firm. So obviously, your whole credit score and everything, you do have to make sure that that's in a good position. Otherwise, you really can't do it. But other than that, if you're good to go, I think this is a really great thing to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, the 512 response is a very tech tuber approach, but that's how we think. We'd rather future-proof ourselves, even though we do tend to replace those models quicker than the rest. But this
is true.
It's just how we roll. But yeah, so in a surprising twist of rumors, and I want to reiterate rumor because this is from Mark Gurman, Apple seems to be toying around with the idea of redesigning the next-gen Watch SE around a rigid plastic approach. Now, my personal belief, if any of this is actually true, Apple would likely release a secondary SE model at a more affordable cost, maybe catering towards parents who have kids, which allows them to keep an eye on them without having to have the additional concern of, is the chassis getting scratched up or abused? But again, that's a theory, and my personal belief on the matter, it's quite a head scratcher that Apple is even considering this. So time will tell on what material, houses the next gen Watch SE 2 or 3 in this case, or maybe if there are 2 variants in the works. So
we are always getting more variants of the variants of the variants.
Yeah,
the whole plastic thing, that is a little odd of choice because that's not like Apple normally. They usually use premium products, but I guess on the version that you use for, if you're using it for like a parental, overlook and security and everything, I guess a plastic for a kid would be. Or did you say that the SE, the main SE is having plastic, not the possible like children, the kid one?
Right. That's the rumor. The rumor is that the SE3 will be a plastic chassis. My belief is that I feel like they would probably maybe introduce a second SE in the works, maybe directed more towards kids or people who are just trying to have more of an affordable approach to, a watch.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that'd probably be better for kids because, plastic.
That's what I thought too, but evidently this is supposed to take over the actual...
Yeah, that is weird.
So.
Yeah,
it is weird, and like you said, they're used to using stainless steel, aluminum, titanium.
At the very least, aluminum.
Yeah. What?
At the very least, aluminum. I mean, it's the cheaper of them all, but it's still much more durable than plastic.
Well, it kind of gives me a throwback to the 5C, which was plastic as well. So I don't know if maybe they're trying to revisit that idea and see if they can improve affordability on it. Get the watch in more people's hands or on their wrists specifically. But
yeah, most likely. Well, speaking of watches, we have reports from Gurman again, so this is a rumor, regarding the Apple Watch 10. According to Gurman, the Watch 10 will feature a much larger screen, close to that of the Watch Ultra, and allegedly the larger Watch 10 will have a screen size that is much bigger than the Ultra, with both being thinner than the 9. It is important to note that Apple is likely, according to Gurman, not to implement AI in this year's model, nor will there be any major feature changes on the outside. Now, while many have stated their dissatisfaction of the lackluster upgrades being that this is the 10th year anniversary of the Apple Watch, I personally believe that, and I think this is something we talked about in passing, during the whole hullabaloo. I don't think Apple really can do a whole lot more in terms of exterior changes, at least for now. In my personal opinion, and I think you would agree with this, JD, is that they have come to a sort of a halt, and I think they really need some time to hash out some things and, work on advancing that technology much more so they can actually implement things on the outside that are important for the user, not just so they look good, but that a user will be able to utilize them much better and have a lot more fun with it, if you will. So, but I don't think Apple's at that point, at least right now, I don't think they are.
No, I don't think so either. And quite frankly, I don't feel like general consumer technology is at that point either, because
No.
I mean, we've talked about the rumors of, they'll have like a magnetic attachment. It's going to improve, internal capacity for battery life.
Yeah.
Not really sure when we're going to see that. Again, those were just rumors in and of themselves. So, but I agree. Yeah, there's really not much that you can do. It is kind of interesting though. So they're making it thinner, and then it's also going to have a larger screen size.
Yeah, the what would it be? The 43 millimeter or the 45? Which one's the larger one is? I know the 45 is larger than the 43, but it goes 43 and 45.
Something like that. I don't remember it offhand.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember either.
I believe the Ultra is like 49, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, it might
So
be
it'll
like
probably
45 or 46 or something.
Yeah, so if it's bigger than the Ultra, it'll probably be like 50 or something. If the second one is going to be larger, which is crazy to think. I actually did see some renders of this, and if I have them, we'll post them on here right now. But
Yeah.
it was insanely huge, almost unbearable. I couldn't think, like, it's just this giant thing on your wrist. Like, I feel like getting to a point where it's just not really, it's like having almost a little smartphone at this point. I mean, it kind of is already, but like, I don't know. I think you get to a point where it's just too big and too cumbersome, in my opinion, although maybe some people might think differently, but I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how that works, because I was actually looking at an article on how this lady was testing out some of these smartwatches, and even she noted that the Pixel Watch was just too small for her.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where, like, okay, well, how big do you need it, and how small is too small? And where's a good middle ground, not just for size, but to kind of mesh together good battery life and good experience. So it's really,
Yeah.
you really can't have like a one for all. It's kind of just depends on the user, of course, as it always is. But yeah, that's a good point to bring up. And can't say I'm excited for the Watch 10, but
Nah, I'm not really either.
I guess as long as it's received in a positive way.
Yeah.
Hard to see how that would be the case.
More positive than the 9.
Right, because that didn't really get much of a response at all. Moving on to Microsoft, though, Xbox has announced that their cloud gaming has reached the popular streaming hardware of Fire TV via their Xbox app. This basically allows you to bypass the need for an Xbox console. Now, obviously, Microsoft isn't just going to hand out cloud gaming to anybody with a Fire TV device. You will have to chalk up the monthly subscription price of $17 for Game Pass Ultimate. And you'll also need to be in possession of a compatible Bluetooth controller. Clearly, this is a slightly new approach to gaming, so we'll be sure to follow up with any likely roadblocks or challenges on the matter. But providing that you have either the Fire TV Stick 4K or the 4K Max, you should be set to go for accessing Microsoft's library of cloud gaming. So,
I mean, do you think that this is profitable for Microsoft?
Based on services and subscriptions, I can see it probably would be. They're not going to throw you on the lower plan, so you do have to pay the ultimate. As far as I think I understand where you're coming from, is because it could lower a profit from their console.
Yeah, that's what I'm
not many people
thinking.
are buying them. Yeah. I don't know. It's probably an easier way for people to try it out, kind of their platform, without having to buy it. And then, if they do feel like, maybe I'm missing out on some features that the hardware can really handle versus, just a Fire TV, they might actually buy an Xbox. So it could be a way to turn maybe PS5 users. Hard to say, because I feel like PS5 gamers are pretty loyal. So
this is true. Yeah.
And
it's hard to
I know that most people nowadays, well, you may not be one of them if you're watching this, but most people typically have both of them, Xbox and PS5. So.
Also true. Yeah, it is a little weird to see them do this. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea, but yeah, that was my main concern, was like the whole Xbox console issue. Is that going to lower sales? But it's kind of like the whole thing with on Apple devices, you can sort of use this quasi Samsung UI app to kind of see if you like Samsung. That's kind of how I like in this too. So I guess, yeah, I can see your point.
That's what I was thinking too.
I can see your point. It gets people kind of into it to see if they like it or not. And, you know, if they don't, they can just cancel the subscription anyway. So, yeah, I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's an easy way to get out of it, because you don't have to worry about like a return policy or, I can't, get out of this. It's just a subscription and that's it. And a Bluetooth controller, most people have those anyway, so it's not like the biggest deal in the world.
Exactly. Next week, the OnePlus Nord 4 will be released on the 16th, and we now have visuals and possible interior rumors of it. The back of the phone has a similar camera setup to the Nothing Phone 2A, where there are two large camera sensors on the back, both fixated in a horizontal line. They will be coming in two-tone colors, black, mint, and white/silver. The features that have been rumored so far are as follows: a 6.74-inch 1.5K OLED display with 120 Hz refresh rate, pretty standard. A Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 3 processor for fast and efficient performance, so pretty okay for a mid-tier phone.
Yeah.
Large 5500 milliamp hour battery, that's pretty solid, with 100-watt charging support. And a triple camera setup with a 15 megapixel primary sensor, a 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and a 16 megapixel self shooter. So, what's more is that OnePlus has decided to continue keeping the headphone jack for the Nord series, which is widely a node in pretty much every facet of the smartphone industry, but in my humble opinion, still very much welcome. We don't have anything on the price, however, being this has a decent set of specs and that it is a mid-range, I'm personally going to say that this particular Nord is going to be about in the 600-650 range, being as last year's model was 555. All in all, the phone is pretty solid in terms of what you're getting. There's really nothing new here. It's pretty industry standard right now. Yeah. So, yeah, it's okay. It's good.
Was that the model that I heard rumor of where it was going to have a metal back or something like that, or was that a different model?
I think this might be the one you're thinking of, because remember how I said it's a two-tone color. So you have, and we'll obviously show a picture of it here, you have the top part, I think that's like the shiny metal you're thinking of, and then the bottom part is basically your average kind of, I don't know, aluminum or steel backing, if you will. So yeah, I think that is the one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Which looks pretty good.
I don't know. Is that also a U.S. market phone?
According to Android Central, the OnePlus Nord 4 is likely to have a global launch. So, which is interesting, because I actually would have assumed that they would have done only Asian market. So, okay, we'll see.
They have so many low-end phones. Well, I don't want to say low-end, but budget-friendly phones. It kind of jumps between India, Asia, US, and UK. It's like all over the place, so it's hard to tell which one comes to which market. But that said, it doesn't really surprise me that they would probably bring that to the US. I'm pretty sure last year's model came to the US too, if I'm not mistaken. But
it might have been, I can't remember.
550. I don't know if I'd go for that.
I'm sorry?
That's just me, though. I don't know if I'd go for the Nord at that price if it's anywhere above 500.
Yeah, that was my main concern. Is I feel like that was the only issue I had, I think, was if you're doing a mid-range phone, well, I guess, yeah, I would say 500 for this, with 550. I wouldn't really change the price, but being as there are larger specs on this thing, I should say better specs in this thing, and, it is the next model and all that kind of stuff, probably going to be more, which, I don't know. I guess I'll just have to wait and see when the actual event happens and what they showcase, because I don't know.
I mean, possibly, but you kind of have to look at the competition.
Right.
At least in my opinion, because there's a lot of good phones out there that are like $450, $500, and I feel like they could
Pixel 7a.
they could you know. Yeah, I mean, just I mean the 8A,
yep.
even like the some of Samsung's phones, the FE series, even the A series, A57s, A58 or whatever. So I feel like a lot of those can handle it, and especially with Pixel, you get great photography, and even iPhone SE series. Those are still comparable phones that you can compete against. I just don't feel like Nord is offering the right specs at the right price. Is really my concern. Yeah. 7 series processor for $550. That doesn't strike me really all that great. And on top of that, they're not the best when it comes to photography and videography. They're getting there, just not the best. And I feel like that'd be a big concern for me as well. So But this week we didn't have any deals to disclose, but it is worth noting that Amazon's Prime Day sales are close at hand. July 16th and 17th are the days to mark if you want to jump on the discounts from the e-commerce giant. Personally, it's been a couple of years since I've done any shopping on those days, but that's more so because of my financial standing than anything else. So, but I definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really, I haven't really bought anything either from Amazon Prime. So, but yeah, it's there. Hey, maybe if there's something good, we'll see. Some rumors have been released regarding the Switch 2. We've mentioned this quite extensively in the last few months because it is a major thing, and I think once it's released, it'll be like this whole trend. Because one hasn't been released in a while, at least the main one. But we now have concrete data. But we now have a concrete date of March 31st of next year that it's going to be released on. With regards to specs, it said that this device will feature a NVIDIA chipset as well as 8 gigs of RAM, 512 internal storage. And there's also possibility of a coprocessor that would allow the Switch, when docked, to enhance performance to a 4K TV. And I think we mentioned that briefly last time. For the overall looks, the Joy-Cons may magnetically connect while also having a larger size and even some button changing layouts, or I think some button replacements or something like that. The display is said to be about 8 inches while also supporting higher resolution, and like we mentioned long ago, the battery life would be improved. One other thing to mention is this seems to be a definite, is that Nintendo intends on increasing their supply, being as they had, I suppose, a few supply issues in the first one, and that a Switch has not been released for quite a few years, so you're going to get a lot of people that are really hyped up for it. They're going to buy it off the market immediately, and you might get some of those, Vision Pro crazy people that just like buy a bunch of them and then sell them for, a crap ton. Not a whole lot to say here other than that. A lot of the stuff we're expecting at the very least to happen, but I guess we will have to just wait until more rumors appear. So
yeah, I'm sure there's going to be more, considering that we're waiting until March. So I had heard, I don't remember if we talked about that on past episodes, but I had heard about those magnetic connections. So I'm a little skeptical on that, but I don't know. I feel like Nintendo could do it correctly.
They could.
Outside of that, nothing really kind of stands out.
Yeah.
We've talked about how like the GPU and stuff like that is going to improve it, and we're going to get better performance and gameplay. So
nothing that wows me.
Right, and on top of that, because it is still so far out, it's kind of hard to get any excitement going.
Exactly.
So. But as long as I don't go crazy on the pricing, I feel like, who knows, maybe I'll upgrade. But
me too, maybe.
Time will tell. The Pixel and iPhone seem to be trending closer and closer on mutual hardware use within their respective handsets. Recent rumors profess that the 10th gen Pixel will finally be adopting processor fabrication from TSMC, much like Apple has done for so long. And now we have leaks suggesting that both the iPhone 16 Pros and the Pixel 9 series will have Samsung's high-end M14 display panels as well. Now, to emphasize this, only the iPhone Pros will get the M14 panels, but per rumors, all the Pixel 9 series will house that same display. Pro and non-Pro models alike. So yes, obviously we are familiar with how Apple executes in integrating these displays, but before too long we'll find out how Google will do so, as their event takes place on August 13th. Only then, of course, we'll find out when these next-gen smartphones will go on sale.
You still gonna remind me about that event?
I'll try. Like I said, I'm not your Google assistant, so.
No, you're not. I don't think you'd make a great one either. Yeah, that's pretty crazy that Google is implementing all of theirs with that M14 display, but and then Apple's always about, and we've said it billions of times at this point, and I think it's not needed to be said, but I'm gonna say it anyway. They always, on their Pro models, extensively mark those as like, this is the only one where you can get those features every time. Yeah. And I feel like Google, well, they do, and we talked about this, they do have a split between the Pro and the base of like, this is what differentiates the both. Oh man. This is what differentiates both of these models, but they're not so far apart that it's like an insane price hike on the next model, like the higher Pro model, whatever. They usually balance it up pretty well, I think. So.
Yeah, I feel like they do a good job, and I think the displays are going to be really nice, obviously, but I really can't get too excited just because I know what's coming on the 10s. So, did have rumors that I didn't bring up. They are going to improve the fingerprint reader and use an ultrasonic instead of optical. So that part I'm really excited about, just because that fingerprint reader has been a major hindrance over the past few generations. So, and they really need to improve that ever since they got rid of the fingerprint reader on the back. So that's been a while ago. But yeah, outside of that, I'm really pushing hard for that 10th gen, and I can't wait for that one to come out. So I don't think it's going to be like groundbreaking. You'll probably see a lot more improvements on the 11th or 12th gens, but at least switching over from Exynos to TSMC, that's really going to be the big kicker for me. So
yeah, for sure.
But in either case, that will do it for this week's episode. This is JD and Riley. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace out.